Hey guys, it's Ukriane, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how Russia could take all of Novoryssia. So it's going to be a three-step offensive, and the focus is going to be along the Dnieper River and then the line that separates Ukraine from Novoryssia. Now, first, Russia should launch an offensive around the Dnieper River towards Novoryssia from both sides. This will allow them to get another bridgehead on the Dnieper River that is closer to this area here that separates the Dnieper River from these larger and wider parts of it, which are basically impossible to pass through. After which, at the same time, they'll have to push towards Mykolaiv from the north and the south in a pincer move to try and catch these soldiers off guard and push towards the north to cross the river that is here and fight alongside the border. And at the same time, there should be a general offensive around the Donetsk front, as well as around Izium. And finally, a new contingency of the Russian army should invade from north of Kharkiv, while simultaneously pushing here in the south. Then the second stage, Russia should push towards Dnipro and also work all the way down here. This will cut off all of the supplies to all of Novoryssia from the south, as they use the railways to go down here from Kiev and then up here. That would change the the supply line, and everything that is in this road has to be redirected, which will severely slow down the supplies and also let the Russians have an easier time conquering the rest of Donetsk region, as well as push down here. They then have to go down and push towards Odessa, as if they go straight through it, there's a lot of valleys and rivers. However, going through the north is mostly flatlands, which will allow them to advance quickly. They have to take all the way to here, going around it, and then they have to siege it, cutting it off from the rest of Ukraine. And here they need to connect to Dnipro and go towards Kharkiv, as these go to connect with it. This will cut them off from all of their allies, and then they have to form a defensive line along this area. And then finally, Russia should push outwards from these areas to secure the flanks and force Ukraine to give up any more fighting, as they have lost this whole area. Now, this is completely and utterly guesswork. There's no one who can predict that much, but it is the general outline for the optimal path to take to conquer all of this area. Looking from a geographical point of view. Also, if we look at what Russia wants, they want this area not just because it's pro-Russian, but also because it's rich in resources. It cuts Ukraine off the sea. It secures Russian flank down here, and it will force Ukraine into giving up, as there's no way they can push Russia back from such a position. Now, they always run the risk of the enemy attacking from this side. However, with their 2 million reserve forces, they can easily cook up some plan on sending reserves onto the border, as it is not in enemy territory. It is completely fine for them to use them there. So, the difficulties in this plan is, I don't know exactly how much the Ukrainian forces have, or how damaged they are as a result of all the Russian shelling throughout this war. However, if we look at the first 3 days and see how they took all of this area, as well as around Kiev and so on, that is when they had their full capacity. Now it is estimated to be about half. If they have half their capacity and Russia still has exactly what they started with, then I definitely think it's possible, as the advantage is now twice as big, as well as how they now are both experienced and battle hardened, considering they have been at war for half a year now. Other than that, there are a lot of smaller points that we have to take. Like the cities seem to be very difficult for the Russians to take, as the Ukrainian doctrine has been influenced by the NATO doctrine, which allows them to fortify the cities in ways that the Soviets didn't, and also allow them to make use of forests as ambush points and so on, like the Germans did in World War II. And finally, the most important aspect is that Russia doesn't overexert itself, overextend, which allows them to get cut off in their offensive. The thing is, we are now at around mid-August, and I would expect the mod to arrive by mid-September, so there's about 1 month until they need to go back to the roads. But that will still allow them to do this offensive, as if you check the roads, they match well with the borders. And also the fact that Ukraine has fortified this area the most, and now possibly around here. But generally, all of this area has barely been fortified, which allows them to, for example, there shouldn't be any mines, there shouldn't be any positions, trenches, and so on, fortified bunkers. All of these things should be lacking in all of these areas, which will allow the Russian mechanized units to pass through way easier, as well as their tanks. If we look at the aspect of combined warfare and electronic warfare, we see that Russia actually has the ability to cut off any drone's activity within a 50-kilometer radius. So if they set some up around the border by here, it should be enough to cover all of this area, which will allow them to pull this offensive off, the first step of the offensive, without any Bayraktar drones or UAVs being able to identify the positions and progress, as their electronic warfare vehicles disable them. Also, despite the explosion down here in the airport, they have lost an estimate between 6 and 20 aircraft. However, even with those losses, they will still be able to hold about 80% of their activities here in the south, which will allow them to still have a significant effect. But also, if they decide to use more weapons, for example, something I had a presentation about, which I doubt they will use because of how destructive it is, but if they did, they would be able to do this easily, and that is their non-strategic nuclear weapons. And before you say, oh my god, he's telling them to use nuclear weapons, these are legal under international law, because the extension of the explosion and of the nuclear capacity is that low that it doesn't affect the environment to a degree that it should be illegal. But the explosion itself and the effects of the explosion is catastrophic enough to kill a whole battalion with one shot. It can take down any of the Ukrainian positions. Of course, this isn't something that they should be doing, as it is insane. But war is war, and rules are broken in war. If they decide to take all of this in a month, they can do it using that technique, those weapons. But most likely it will be a slow process where the initial push will be long, as we saw early on, and then they have to consolidate their positions. However, if they manage to take Zaporizhia within, well, not take it, just cut it off within 4 weeks, then I would expect this whole operation to probably last about finishing around the 1 year mark for the invasion start. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Please leave a comment down below and don't insult anyone. I am tired of removing comments because they call someone horrific things or just straight out being racist and so on. I don't allow it in my chat, and I will not allow it continuously. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and have a great day. Hope you enjoyed.